Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. The socio-political situation keeps on changing, especially the geopolitical. Each age is marked by a certain set of countries. There was a time when it was the European century. Europe was ruling the world. Before that, it was Arabic. Before that, it was Indian in one part and the Incas on the other part. Because at that time, the means of communication were limited. But now, as the world became a global village, if not in reality, but at least in the virtual reality, we have well-defined influence makers. And as I said, the Indo-Inca time gave way to Arabic times, to European predominance of the world. Then came the American century. Change is inevitable, so Asian century was inevitable. No, it's already here. People are mistaken when they think that the future is going to be of Asia. Because Asia is not the future, Asia is the present. And the brand new Asian century, we are living in that, we are breathing that. The lingering shadows of American impact may be there, but they're just lingering shadows. In reality, they are the remnants which have certain brilliance, but otherwise in reality it is Asian century. Look at the economy, look at the word population, look at the IT, look at the technological progress. Whichever way you look, you would find the Asians are making quantum jumps, while Europeans and the Americans are plodding along. In the past 50 years, 7 countries in the world have grown at 3.5% or more in terms of GDP per capita. I'm not talking about the GDP as a whole, but I'm talking about GDP per capita. And I'm not talking of today, I'm talking of the half a century. 7 countries. And would you believe all those 7 countries are Asian countries? They are not USA, they are not Canada, they are not Germany, they are not England. They are Asian countries in half a century. These 7 tigers, Asian tigers, have grown 3.5% and plus. Keep on counting in terms of GDP per capita. Is that or not a sufficient indication that this is an Asian century? In the past 20 years, 2 decades, 11 countries have grown at and above 5% GDP per capita. So in half a century, 7 countries. In 20 years, 11 countries. And again, out of those, how many would be Asian? Well, you can surmise. More than half of them are Asian countries. Half the words in terms of GDP is going to the Asian half of the global middle class will be Asian. The strength of any community is the middle class, as I've been saying all the time. And half of the world's middle class is going to be Asian. And that's going to happen maybe in a few months. 40% of the global consumption is Asian. And consumption prompts manufacture, production. So, simply put, in 20 years, half of the world, economically, demographically, is Asian. Asia is becoming much more intertwined in the economic flows and activities. And it's the economy, you stupid. Don't forget it. It's the economy which motivates the political, the military, and the research mind. If you are economically poor, you're nothing. Be economically strong, and you are on a way to success. Now, it's impossible for China, for example, now, to grow on its own. China people are saying Chinese tiger dragon is coming up. But this dragon is emitting fire. By itself, it's nothing. The technologies it has are from West. While there are two countries, South Korea and Japan, with their innovative capabilities and inherent technological inputs, they have made advances which are simply startling. And then comes India. It made history when it joined in the space exploration. It made history when it could fire 104 satellites at one go. So much so that even so-called advanced countries like Canada, their assistance in firing the satellites. And they become a fulcrum, the center of space technology. So coming to intertwining of the issue, by themselves, they may not be important, but when they get together, take the case of South Korea and Japan. So on themselves, they might not have been big, but despite their competitive spirit, they have joined hands and they're emerging as economic giants. Why they're emerging? They have emerged. So everything is interlinked, and Asian ingenuity, Asian productivity, Asian desire to overcome obstacles is making Asia maintain its hold. The biggest thing people have forgotten is that the challenge for the Asian companies is not to get big in size, but to grow big in profits. And the means to get big in profits. One of the things that many Asian competition is that the companies need to overcome the deceptive journey in the changes to the approach to governing their business. If they can overcome that deceptive attitude, you can be sure that they are going to be Fortune 100 companies or Nikkei 100 companies or whatever you want to call it. And one thing which is making Asian century possible is the top-down entrepreneurship. All Asian companies are basically top-down and results of top-down entrepreneurship. The CEOs, the managements, the startups, all of them have shifted their orientation in terms of approach to innovation. Much more bottom-up, voluntary, fast to fail approach is gone. That's outmoded. Now they are, as I said, top-down entrepreneurship, innovative, ingenuous, and as they say in India, full of jugaad. A lot of companies have adopted digital ways of working, and that's foundational to the transformation of going forward. Now, there are challenges, I know, because when you're breaking out of a cocoon, there are challenges, and the Asians are facing those challenges. They have a challenge of potential financial risk, inequality, institutional gaps, and most important, corruption. But Asia's rise is definite despite all those roadblocks. And that's the human ingenuity of Asia. Despite short-term concerns about the trade tensions and relatively slowing down of China's growth rate, Asia's medium and long-term prospects appear so robust that imagination staggers. And what happens? Its rise to global significance is apparent in major macroeconomic indicators. Let's not talk of microeconomics. If I take up macroeconomic indicators, including GDP and consumption, I'll give you some figures. In year 2000, Asia accounted for 32% of the global GDP in terms of purchasing power parity. In 2017, that 32% increased to 42%. And in the next 10 years is going to be 52%. Now, compare it with the Europe's decline. It was 26% and it has come down to 22%. North America, it was 25%, now it's 18%. So from 2000 to 2017, while Asia has grown by 10%, these countries have fallen by 4% and 7%. If I compare that growth of 10% and minus 7%, the difference is 17%. And yet to say American economy is there and the American century is there? No, it's the Asian century. Now come to the real GDP terms. Asia's share was 34% in 2017, 34%, and it will be 46% in the next 10 years. Look at the consumption, the main indicator. Asia accounted for 23% of the global total, became 28% in 2017, and will be 39% in the next 10 years. On the other side, North America and Europe would decrease by 16%. But that's not enough. Global cross-border flows are shifting towards Asia. On 7 of the 8 dimensions, normally, cross-border flows have 8 dimensions. And out of that, 7 are positive for Asia. And what are they? Trade, capital, people, knowledge, transport, culture, resources, and environment. And the only flow that has declined is environment. Rest 7 are, as far as Asia is concerned, on the upward trend. To give a few examples, Asia's share of global goods trade has increased from 25% in 2002 to 33% in 2016. Asia today accounts for 23% of the global flow, compared to 13% a decade ago. And now come to demographics. While the countries in Europe and America have a declining population, and then they're depending on immigration and things like that, these countries don't have a declining education population. And one thing more, the population of countries like India is the youth population. The youth part is much more important. China has an aging population, that's a problem. So even in Asia, countries like India are going to go ahead shortly, but the century as a whole, as I said, is Asian. So whether I take it from political angle, whether I take it from the economy or from the demographics, Asians are superseding every other geographical part of the world, whether it's Australia, Africa, Europe, or North America, or South America for that matter. So, is it not the Asian century? I'll prefer to call it the Asian drama unfolding. Now, this is a unique thing. Centuries of being under the foreign domination, centuries of exploitation, centuries of the wealth being drained out, and centuries of exploitation has not weakened the characteristic resolve of the Asians to come up. Rather, it has hardened the steel in the backbones. and they are making conscious efforts to revive the past glories, whether it was of the Ming dynasty or of the Gupta period of Hinduism or the shining time of the land of the rising sun, that is Japan. Whether it's the midnight calm of Korea, the Asian tigers are on the prowl. They are roaring because of their clear, visible victories, and their reign seems to be there. For how long? That the time would tell. But Asian drama is unfolding, and the Asian century is here today. Enjoy their century. Who knows what happens tomorrow? Thank you.